Hi, this is a video about the past continuous or the past progressive. These are the same thing, past continuous and past progressive. We have two different words to use about them. When we make past continuous, we use was or were, and then we use the infinitive form of the verb plus ing. So if the subject is I, he, she, or it, then we use was. Okay, so, and if we use you, we, or they, then we use were. So if we have a sentence and the subject is I and the verb is sleep, then it becomes I was sleeping in the past continuous form. If the subject is we and the verb is talk, it becomes we were talking in the past continuous. Okay? The past continuous is a form we often use when one action is in progress, det noe som skjer, and it's interrupted by another action in the past. Okay, so this is when we're using past continuous, it's something that happened in the past, i fortid, but we have one thing that is happening and then it's interrupted by another thing. Okay, so det noe som skjer, en handling som foregår, og så blir det avbrutt av en annen handling. Okay, we usually use when or while when we link these two sentences. Når vi binder dem sammen. Okay, so here we have an example. We have one sentence here which is in the past continuous. I was singing. And then we have a sentence in the past simple. My wife came home. So the sentence in past continuous, that was something that was happening. I was singing. Okay, maybe I was singing for a long time. Maybe I was singing for 1 hour, okay? I was doing that, and then another thing happened while I was doing it, okay? So I was singing when my wife came home, okay? One thing was happening, I was singing, and then it was interrupted because another thing happened. I was singing when my wife came home. Okay, that's the way we can use when. Or we can start with while, okay? While I was singing, my wife came home. Okay, that's another way of doing it. While I was singing, my wife came home, or I was singing when my wife came home. When we have two actions in the past, for example, I was singing and my wife came home, we use past continuous for the longer one. Okay, so there were two things happening, singing and wife came home, but singing was something that happened over a longer period of time. Wife came home did not take so long. That was just a short one. Okay. Here's another reminder. Remember, the longer action should be the past continuous. So here we have some examples. Bob paints windows. Han maler vinduer. Okay. He's doing that from 1 o'clock until 4 o'clock. Okay, he's doing it from 1 o'clock to 4 o'clock. So he's doing it for 3 hours. It starts to rain at 15:45. Okay, so the thing that's the longer thing here is painting windows, because that's something that happens over many hours. It starts to rain, that happens at one time. So we can say, while Bob was painting the windows, it started to rain. The painting the windows was a thing that was a longer action. Det er en lengre handling. It started to rain, that happens at one short time, but he was painting the windows is something that goes over a longer time. So we can say, while Bob was painting the windows, it started to rain, or we can say Bob was painting the windows when it started to rain. Both of those are correct. Another example, I eat dinner. That's between 6 o'clock and 6:15. Telephone rings. That happens at one time, 18:10. So the thing that's a longer action here is eating dinner, because that's 15 minutes. The phone just rings. It starts ringing at one time. While I was eating dinner, the telephone rang. Okay? Or I was eating dinner when the telephone rang. So we use was eating which is the past continuous for dinner, eating dinner, because that was something that was longer. And we use the past simple, telephone rang, for the telephone ringing, because that was just a one-time thing. Here's another thing that hopefully can help you understand it. The past continuous is a continuous action in the past. Okay? Det en handling som varer over tid I fortiden. Og så det avbrutt, interrupted, by another past action. Okay, so one thing was happening in the past, and it was interrupted by another thing that was happening in the past. Okay, så du har to ting som begge har skjedd I fortiden, men den ene bruker du past continuous, og den andre så bruker du vanlig simple past. He was eating dinner when the phone rang. So here we have the past continuous, here we have the simple past. So we have the subject plus was or were plus the verb plus ing. Okay, so here we see the boy or the man sitting eating dinner from 6 p.m. till 6:15, and then the phone rang at 6:10 p.m. Okay. Here's another example of how to make sentences with the past continuous. If it's a positive sentence, just a normal sentence, we have the subject and was or were, the verb, and ing. She was cooking all morning. Okay, she was cooking. That's the past continuous. If it's a negative, if we're using not, then we have subject and then was or were, then not, and then the verb and ing. She was not sleeping when he came home, or she wasn't sleeping when he came home. If it's a question, then we have to have the verb first. Was or were comes first, then the subject, and then the verb with ing. Was she sleeping when he came home? Okay. Final thing we're going to talk about is a bit about spelling. So if we have a verb that ends in E in the infinitive form, you do not have the E in the continuous form. So make, which ends with an E in the infinitive, becomes making with no E in the continuous form. Drive becomes driving with no E. Write becomes writing with no E. And then if we have verbs that end in a vowel, a vocal, plus a consonant, consonants, they have a double consonant in the continuous form. So here we have sit, it has a vowel and then a consonant. It becomes sitting with two consonants in the continuous form. Put becomes putting. Win becomes winning with double consonant. Okay.